What's up, y'all? This is Lou, and right now, on this beautiful day outside my home here in Las Vegas, Nevada, we're going to discuss who owns the rocks. The rocks. Who owns the rocks? The trees. This is an interesting concept that I often end up debating with people who are very stringent and adamant about the existence of borders and border security. Now, right away, reactionaries to such a statement would say, oh, you believe in open borders? You want open borders? Kinda. Kinda. Maybe it's the few drops of Native American blood I have in me. Maybe it's growing up a minority in a country built on colonization, whose laws were written by and for colonizers, or perhaps it's just the acceptance of mortality, in that I don't find a very compelling argument for who owns the rocks and the grass, trees. I remember having this debate with a person who tends to stray more towards libertarian ideologies, and they kept making a case for, finite resources and, things like that, or undesirable people living in an area among them that they may not want. And my question at the end of the day to them was, if you truly believe in freedom, if you truly believe the idea of freedom, how can you tell me where I can and can't live? How can you tell me that I am illegal? I'm a human being born on this earth. What is the legality of that? Does being born in a place I couldn't even help being born at attach me to that place specifically, or may I roam? Because for much of human history, that's what we did. We would roam. We would go from place to place. We were from the to quote the Disney Pixar film Moana. We were voyagers. We were voyagers. I don't find much of a compelling argument for the idea that human beings can declare swaths of the earth exclusively theirs and keep all others out. How is that not a segregationist argument? Especially when you consider certain people and not others to be either desirable or undesirable. Now, I'm not saying that communities don't have rights, and I'm not saying that there can't be a procedure involved. I'm for immigration reform. In fact, I'm for immigration reform to make immigration easier. Because if you follow trends of immigrants in pretty much any country, there is no trend of immigrants attempting to infiltrate a place and completely overrun it and drive out all of the native inhabitants. I mean, that's colonization. That's colonization. And I listen to people who are politically opposed to myself, who are on my right, make arguments that colonization, at least in the context of America, was a good thing because it created the America we live in now. Okay, so then if you are being colonized by more and more people showing up who don't necessarily look like you or speak your language, well, then what's the problem? Because according to you, that's better for society, right? I don't think so. I don't think that they think that way. I think that they're deathly afraid of just living in a place where they may have to accept other kinds of people or learn other languages. But again, just the concept. So people say, okay, so does that mean you're completely against the concept of private ownership. Kinda. Uh, Anyone who knows me in my everyday life here in person knows that I'm very big on the Strong Towns movement. I follow a couple of other YouTube channels on this, City Nerd and Not Just Bikes. You guys have extremely excellent YouTube channels displaying a lot of what's wrong with American culture, and the suburban experiment is something that has, in my opinion, crippled American culture. But what was one of the most basic premises of the suburban experiment, aside from in fact legal segregation? Because let's face it, that's what it was a grand tool for. But now we live in single family homes with little plots of land, like our own little personal plantations that we upkeep or pay for the upkeep for, pay some person we kind of sort of look down upon to maintain, and we get very, very, very upset if anyone dares touch our sacred property. We take it as a personal offense. But the interesting thing is, when I lived in apartments and duplexes, when I lived in closer knit communities, there wasn't that aspect of it. And to be honest, I'm going to make a video about this later, but those were some of the most fun times of my life, where I felt the most connected to other people and to other children, to other kids. It's hard for my kids to find kids in suburban sprawls, now. We have a few living here, but they don't come outside very much. And to venture down and around requires some form of transportation. The concept of ownership over the rocks seems to me to be little more than a dividing mechanism. A way to keep you from bonding, from becoming closer to people around you, and to make you afraid of people who may enter your space. This is a very good way to indoctrinate people into the idea of nationalism. The idea that this is ours, we have an inherent right to it, and in a lot of cases, people who believe this believe we have a divine right to it, and only those who we deem appropriate should be allowed. Now, as a minority in America growing up in the South, where do you think I've heard that kind of thing before? I'll leave it to you. This has been Lou, on your left.